Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. Joyce, it's sound the emergency alarm. We've got the Emmy nominations hot off the presses.
Just a chaotic morning, as expected.
Wow. Just before we get into it, we'll do comedy, drama, and limited series, which we'll put last, and it was last in their hearts, it seems, because of the effort they seemingly put into these nominees. But what were your overall thoughts of these Emmy nominations today?
The return of the restricted ballot did not do much because we're in the era of mass TV. It's not the same as it was in 2016, the last time we had it, because there are 15 times as many shows now. And you know what? No one has time to watch all these shows. So
yeah,
they're still gonna vote for the ones they've seen, which is not that many.
We were hoping
But
for
this year drama supporting actor was last year's limited supporting actress. You just watched 2 shows.
So the only drama supporting actor show nominees are from Succession and White Lotus. And in drama supporting actress, the only odd person out who's not on Succession or the White Lotus was there are two.
Well, there's 2.
Elizabeth Debicki and Ray Seahorn. That's it. Those are the only people who made it in.
I mean, at least that's still 4 shows represented there. 2 times as many shows in that category.
Holy cow. They doubled it up. Yeah, not a lot of diversity in the shows.
No.
A couple of things I would say we talked about a lot. We've talked about this, as we said, multiple times. Passion and like who would get in, and like certain performances.
Yeah,
maybe
you did see the ballot in effect in certain nominations, I would say.
Sure.
But in like overall, I think in the series races, you see that visibility was still winning out because Wednesday and House of the Dragon both got in.
Yes, we have to take a big L on House of the Dragon, Joyce. I'm
fine with that. I was always off of it. You didn't have to change. I was never trying to.
I changed. We had multiple people in the comments, which I made the mistake of reading. But no, I love.
You never read the comments.
I read the comments, and they were all like, "House of Dragon's definitely getting in," and as it turns out, they were right. So congratulations to the commenters.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is too, like we've said, that spot was way open. So you would hope, like with the restricted ballot, maybe a passion-backed show would break through, but there wasn't anything that was like an underdog with a ton of passion. Like I had Bad Sisters in there, but it wasn't something. I don't even know. It wasn't like the Americans, where you could tell like there was a very hardcore vocal fan base behind it.
Well, I think you saw that in the comedy and drama categories this year. Like I said, we're going to go through all the categories, but just overall, like in comedy series, Wednesday gets in as like the mass show that was incredibly popular that everyone watched, and Jury Duty gets in on like just obviously a tremendous amount of passion. The people who loved it,
loved the Jury Duty over performance.
Right. Like the people who love Jury Duty loved it, and that's how it got in over something like Shrinking or Poker Face, which Shrinking did okay and Poker Face did not okay, I don't think, based on like its totals, but like, or what we were expecting, but like yeah, there you go. And then in drama, there wasn't like a Jury Duty type passionate upstart to get in there, an underdog, let's say, right, to knock out House of the Dragon, which was this. The other thing I thought looking at this, and I tried to think of it this year but didn't do a great job, is that, like you said, because it's mass TV, you really have to go with the shows that everyone watched. So like Wednesday, Obi-Wan, House of the Dragon.
Again, remember when you laughed in my face?
Yes.
When I had Obi-Wan.
Yes. And it was right, because we know everyone watched Obi-Wan because it's Obi-Wan and people watched it. And whether they liked it or not, really irrelevant because they've seen it. And so that obviously gets in.
I would say they liked it because they voted for it. I don't think you would vote for something you hated, but like I think you were hung up on the fact that it got bad reviews, and the reviews are totally fine. It just wasn't people's favorite Star Wars show, which was Andor, which you were also out on until the last second.
I put it in though.
I know you did, but like you were very down on it.
I was. It matters that they watch the shows though. I think especially in limited series, which there is not a lot of options, I actually think it didn't even matter if they liked it or not. What else are they going to put in there?
Well, they clearly like Welcome to Chippendales.
Certainly a favorite show. The one we've talked about so much. Welcome to Chippendales.
I mean, it was totally fun. I watched it back in, I don't know, like October when we got this or something. But yeah, not very noisy at all.
No, but how many nominations? Let me look. Welcome.
I think it I think it was just something they probably watched over the holidays, and then it just stayed with them. And then, you know, the spring shows didn't really, you know, land a punch.
No, and
Like there was beef, but that got curtailed with the controversy. So,
I also think beef was early enough that it was away from some of these spring shows. And same with Daisy Jones.
I mean, it was a spring show. It was April, but it was, I think it would have been bigger had they not stopped press for a whole month.
Maybe. Yeah, you might be right. It still
Like
had
it got 13
13
nominations.
That's pretty good. But I'm thinking like Daisy Jones we mocked a little because it was all in March, but Daisy Jones did pretty well.
I mean, it was just a wild
well.
release schedule because they were releasing all 6 or 10 episodes in 1 month. But it was, I think, yeah, like I predicted it. It was watched.
Yeah. So. What I'm saying is like I think a lot of the like Love and Death did not do well, but I think that was just too late. White House Plumbers flopped.
I mean, like that had less going for it than Love and Death.
Sure, but they were both late, and I think that mattered, that they were a little too late, and the people just were done paying attention.
I mean, I think they like Love and Death was watched, but I think it wasn't like, I don't think it was hated. I just think it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, I don't think people care. I don't think any of these shows are hated. I just think that they just didn't care.
And then like A Small Light, just like way too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which I gotta remember.
Should have been like a winter release.
I gotta remember this for next year. I'm not gonna even think about the May shows. Just forget
it. The thing is, if this year we're still the unlimited ballot, I would have never predicted that because I was like, that's way too late. It would just be the big shows. I would have stuck with Obi-Wan, but the return of the restricted ballot, it was like you had to think about it for a second. It's like what might get in because people just really, really like it a lot. Like, and does it matter if it was later than some of these other shows? So yeah.
So we'll start with comedy, Joyce. Think of drama, limited series. If you want to email us, we're going to do a mailbag coming up, Joyce. I'm just putting this here at the top and we'll do it later. But slugfest@goldderby.com. You can send us emails about these nominees and tell us everything you want to tell us. It'll be great. And we'll read them on a later episode. slugfest@goldderby.com. All right. So comedy, Joyce. Ted Lasso. Dominating. Once again.
Not
21 nominations.
No.
Not a surprise.
No. I mean, I have like nothing to say. We've talked about it, how, you know, it was not their best season, definitely their weakest season, but it doesn't matter because they're all, we know, like they're still in the tank for it.
So Ted had 21, Maisel had 14, The Bear had 13, Only Murders 11, Abbott Elementary only 8.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob.
That's just one more than what they got last year.
So they added
hairstyling and guest actress, and they lost writing where they won last year.
Tough beat. We talked about this with the ballots and how the ballots don't have the writers listed. And they had 3.
I think it's fair because it's to avoid name checking. The directing ballots, you do have the names.
Yes. So the writing ballots, there's no names. And Abbott had 3 episodes, all solid episodes, but clearly not having a single episode to focus the attention on, and not having the name of Quinta Brunson maybe on the season 2 premiere episode, I believe is on there, likely hurt it because it didn't end up here, even though it won in this category last year.
This is a very Maisel move by them because Maisel won writing in season 1 and was dropped immediately.
Yeah.
The year after. So, and yeah, that's rough for Abbott. And I think the other thing was, I mean, like Maisel like never made it back either. Like this was their last chance to make it back. And so it has a perfect record, I guess, because it's 1 for 1, but it never made it back for such a verbose show. But yeah, Abbott, you would say, you know, I think, you know, most people expected it to maintain this nomination. And I think a lot of people, we talked about this again, also in our column, I think a couple of weeks ago, like a lot of people were predicting it to win. And we were like, oh, you know, The Bear could win, you know, like I think The Bear could pull a hack season 1 with writing, directing and lead.
And still lose to 10.
And lose series still.
Yes.
But yeah. And then for Abbott this season, to really assert itself as a top series contender for the win, it also needed to break into directing, and which was snub last year, and get editing, which is like basically one of the few below the line categories it's competitive in. You know, it's not a splashy show that could pull like other like sound mixing or something. So it really needed editing and directing. Missed both of them again.
For picture editing for a single camera comedy series, right, which is what you would call Abbott Elementary, the nominees were Barry, Only Murders, and 2 Ted Lasso episodes, Mom City, which is a great episode, and So Long Farewell, which is the finale, The Bear, and What We Do in the Shadows. So
yeah, so like Ted is like winning basically. I think the Bear, if the Bear can like pull a like a Fleabag-esque kind of run, it can win, but like Ted making it to editing for this season, like Jesus.
I do think that is a show of like we said, despite the discourse and like people's thoughts about the 3rd season and perhaps final season, there was no indication that Emmy voters were not hot on the show. And the fact that I got two editing nominations for a season,
for the longest episodes ever,
I think people would say had a little fat on them. Even people who enjoyed the show, like I enjoyed a lot of it, I would say a little long and a little like unfocused. And then I got 2 editing nominations in there is just remarkable, and it shows how strong Ted Lasso remains strong, and it will likely win again. And the fact that Abbott couldn't even expand, not just like it's not a tech show, and it's obviously not going to get like a ton of nominations, but couldn't get Lisa Ann Walter in, which we had maybe both expected, right? Couldn't get writing again, couldn't get like Debris in guest actress, which many people predicted, including I think both of us. I definitely had her in for the Bear, for Abbott, excuse me. It just seems like it could have expanded more for a season that wasn't disliked and seemed like people really enjoyed. Like we looked at like another sophomore show, I think that Abbott we'll talk about when we get to drama, but it was like Yellow Jackets, not great, Bob, and it got only 3 nominations.
Well, season 2 of Yellow Jackets was weaker than season 2 of Abbott.
Definitely. That's what I mean. But like the fact that like Abbott only got 1 extra nomination for what was a good 2nd season with a bunch of hype just feels like a real, like, I don't know, not a great sign of its strength with the Academy compared to Ted Lasso getting 2 editing nominations.
Yeah, I mean, like with Ted is like they've loved it from the beginning, like that we knew that, and it was just like, will they be off of it with a divisive season? And they're not, and they're also late to go off of stuff. They're usually like a year behind when like things are in the discourse is, you know, not overwhelmingly positive. They're usually slower to that. But like with Abbott, you know, we had some clues in the winter, like when it lost to the Bear at WGA and PGA.
Right. Not a great sign. Joyce, overall, I got for the comedy series, the nominees were, like we said, Ted, the Bear, Abbott, Maisel, Barry, Only Murders, Wednesday, and Jury Duty. So we said there were 6 lock shows, and then 7 and 8 were pretty flexible. And I missed both of those because I just had the wrong 2. I had Shrinking and Poker Face in the end. I abandoned Wednesday because like we had talked about, like we have said, I was just like, not somebody's favorite show, but it obviously had enough mass support that it made it in.
Yeah, it's the high visibility.
Yes.
So that overcame the limited ballot.
Yes.
And there wasn't another passion show like Jury Duty to knock it out too. So.
And then Shrinking and Poker Face, they both miss. Wednesday and Jury Duty make it in. Not bad. Good list of nominees.
Yeah. I like this list. Very happy with Jury Duty.
Yeah.
So
it's great to have Wednesday and Jury Duty because it feels like obviously like Wednesday was probably the most popular show of this past year, certainly viewership wise, like biggest show Netflix has ever done and like largely incredibly watched. And then something like Jury Duty, which is like very niche on a freebie.
And that was an organic hit. Like it was not over campaigned or like forced down your throat by anyone. You know, there was very, very, I would say 0 expectations when it premiered in April, and people just found it on their own. TikTok found it, and it just had great word of mouth. You know, Margot Robbie loves it.
And she's right. Good for her.
Yeah.
She's right. And she should say it. And she did.
She did.
She did say
Ryan Gosling is worried about Ronald, but Ronald's fine. So
for comedy actress choice, the nominees were Rachel Brosnahan, Quinta Brunson, Christina Applegate, Natasha Lyonne, and Jenna Ortega. which makes sense because Wednesday got in.
Yeah, that's just, I think that was the top 5 in the odds.
It
So,
was. After I dropped Wednesday, I said, I'm dropping Jenna, and I did for Bridget Everett, and I got told right to F off because she didn't get in. So I got 4 out of 5.
yeah, Natasha made it in without Poker Face.
Yes.
I feel bad for Peacock.
Poker Face got 4, I believe, nominations. Is that right? And missed a lot of ones that probably could have, including, like we said, like directing and maybe
directing, writing. I know a lot of people thought it would get into those because of Ryan Johnson or even with Natasha herself.
And it got 1 guest actress for Judith Light, I believe, right?
Yes.
And then stunt coordination as well. And then the production design, which was great. But it could have gotten, I feel like, a lot more. And maybe it was on another.
Yeah. And then also that, they campaigned it a lot, that this was their top dog.
So
and then it's like, we were already burned by Girls Five Eva, but that was not as big as comparatively, for Peacock.
This felt bigger than this felt bigger than Girls Five Eva. Yeah, not great, Bob.
Yeah, not great that it didn't get into series. They mounted a huge campaign for it.
So we're not going to do our winner picks here, though I will or anything really for pick wise, but I would say. Based on how some of these shows performed, I have no idea who's going to win here. I mean, Quinta Brunson probably is still the favorite for a lot of people. I feel like
she would just be the default first place again, just like she was in phase 1 for people.
But I'm like, it depends on, I mean, who knows? We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. So who knows if there's an actor's strike tomorrow or what's going to happen in phase 2.
Well, then no one's going to be campaigning.
No one can campaign, and who knows when the Emmys will even be, because there might not be in September. Maybe they're in November or January. And we're still talking about season 1 of The Bear when season 2 is winning at the Critics' Choice Awards or the Golden Globes. Who knows? But I would say I have no idea who's going to win this category. And I could see really any of them winning, honestly. I don't think I think you can make an argument for all 5 of these nominees. Maybe not as strong for someone like Natasha, or Christina, but maybe you can. I don't know.
I feel like Rachel is probably the strongest. She's won before.
And she has the strongest show, certainly.
Yeah.
Based on nominations totals.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. This is
people who missed here. Selena Gomez obviously was the big one. Who knows what it would have happened with 6 slots? Maybe she would have gotten in.
No,
I don't think she would have gotten in either, but who knows? That one I feel like we'll be talking about a decent amount. I do think there's there's no clear cut winner there, though, as far as I can tell. If Abbott had performed
that was a thing in phase 1 too, and I think obviously if Abbott had been stronger today, we would be like, yeah, she can win this. I mean, she still can, Quinta.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was not a great showing for the show that really was well positioned to perform better in season 2.
Yes. Yeah. We'll just move on to comedy actor choice. Here was a surprise we talked about. We didn't have we both picked the right Only Murders man to miss.
Yeah.
But we picked the wrong person. I think I definitely said Donald Glover would probably make it back in. But they went with Jason Segel for Shrinking. The other nominees were Jeremy Allen White, Jason Sudeikis, Bill Hader, and Martin Short. I'm not surprised Steve Martin missed, like we had said. In hindsight, obviously, it makes sense. I am surprised Jason Segel got in, especially because Shrinking didn't get in, but I guess it doesn't matter. He is great on the show, and I love him, so I was glad to see him get in.
Yeah, Shrinking was very over predicted in my view the entire time. I mean, I did end up this morning putting it in because I replaced What We Do in the Shadows, so it was a total wash, a lateral move, as they say. Didn't matter. But it wasn't like a huge breakout show, and it's still on Apple, which is not like a top tier streamer, So, but I think, it was well liked, and it had, good press. They campaigned it, obviously focused on Harrison Ford, who was heavily predicted. So I think it's just, this is a decent showing for its first season of a well-received show that wasn't a huge word of mouth hit.
I think that's exactly right. It got 2 nominations, Joyce. Comedy actor for Jason and Jessica Williams in supporting actress.
No Harrison Ford.
I'm going to take a big L on this. This is me putting an L on my face because 2 things I've said literally on our predictions podcast. So I'm going to just say, I said, Shrinking will get in for series, and I feel like it is just on the cusp of all these other acting nominees. Like it'll have the 6th
And it was
spot,
the reverse.
and it was the exact reverse. And then I also said Jason, while I love him, I can't imagine him getting in because it's a straight man performance, and everybody else around him is so wacky. And while he is a little wacky, he's not super wacky. And I was told to go fuck myself because obviously he got in. So great stuff for me. It shows I really know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. You know, but I think that's just, it's the flip of the coin.
Yes, it is.
That's really just like what Shrinking's chances were. It was like I never thought it was going to get like 13 nominations.
No.
So yeah, this is fine.
And this is a category I don't think we'll focus a lot on because I feel like Jeremy Allen White will steamroll here in the end, even with
we'll talk about it for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Supporting actress, like we were just saying, Jessica Williams made it in, and Juno Temple made it in, who I dropped out wrongly, as it turns out. And the other nominees were the expected 5 that I think most people had: Cheryl Lee Ralph, Iowa Debris, Janelle James, Hannah Waddingham, and Alex Borstein. No Lisa Ann Walter for Abbott. No Sarah Goldberg for Barry.
Very rude.
I love Jessica getting in, though. I thought she was amazing on Shrinking. It's a wonderful performance, and
I would say she was probably my favorite performance of the season.
Absolutely, totally agree. And she's like a really engaging presence and like so much fun with Harrison and Jason. It's just good stuff.
I think because also she had storylines with basically every cast member too. Like Krista Miller.
Yes.
Everything, just a lot of great rapport with everyone all around.
Really fun. Lisa Ann Walter not getting in, tough beat, because I feel like, yes, she should have gotten in because she's so funny. And if they loved Abbott, she obviously would have gotten in. So,
you know, Abbott only got 8.
And Sarah Goldberg, I went back to her foolishly, as it turns out, but like I think
the ballot should have helped her, the restricted ballot, but no. But I went down with the ship. Not a total surprise.
No.
So, but yeah.
I'll be curious to see who wins here. Another category I think is much closer than people expect. Obviously, I think Cheryl Lee Ralph will be first in the odds.
I think Io can win.
I absolutely think Io could win as well. I think she's incredibly well positioned to win. She's like on the come up, great in season 2, has like a lot of other projects coming, is like very in there, is like a recognizable person who is people are enjoying. I don't know. I think she could easily win as well. So we'll see. Comedy supporting actor choice, I'm giving myself a high 5.
You got it perfect. And your guy Tony, MIA.
I at the last minute when we did our final picks, my final picks, I think I had Tony in, and then the other day I was like, fuck it, I'm putting James Marsden in just because why not? I was like, everybody loves him. He's like a very well liked actor who's been worked with everybody, and everybody loves him. And I just put him in for jury duty, and he got in. There he is.
Remember when I was like, who should I put in between Harrison and Phil? And I was like, what if I don't do either and I do James? And I didn't do it. But, you know, I stuck with Phil. So he got in finally. Yeah,
so Phil and Brett Goldstein are the Ted Lasso contingent. Henry Winkler and Barry for Barry, and Anthony Carrigan for Barry. Tyler James Williams, Evan Moss Backrack for The Bear, and Marsden for jury duty. This is a great category.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see how this plays out as well. I think
Evan can win. He has his rainbow with Forks. Like I said,
really think he can win too.
If you didn't skip our double Bear episodes, if you haven't watched season 2 and you cared about spoilers, Forks, man.
Forks is great, and it's a great show for him. I don't know if he. I think he could win too, but then I'm gonna give him the Bear 3 acting wins, which maybe is right. I don't know, but I do think that Brett Goldstein could still win here. Certainly, Tyler James Williams I think will be a popular pick, though. Like we're saying, Abbott was a little soft. I could see Phil winning too for Ted now that he got in.
I think Phil versus Brett will be interesting because I think if you ask most people, they prefer Phil over Brett this season. I think most people would agree he had the better season and the better arc. So it'll be interesting to see how lazy they are, I guess. If they're just gonna check off Brett for the 3rd year in a row, or if they're gonna vote for the correct quote unquote guy of the season, which is, my hair is like all messed up now, Phil. And so it'll be interesting to see like how many votes he might siphon away from him, and if that will affect Brett at all. I would love to see Anthony win. I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
What if it's just James?
I mean, it could be. Again, I think we'll see what happens with like the strike or non-strike or how
I
they're
don't
going to
think campaigning matters as much in phase 2.
I think it matters a little bit for visibility on a show that's small like that, because I think a lot of Emmy
But
voters
like
right
in
now,
this case, it's not that small. Like
well,
it got comedy series.
it got in because we're going to assume it had a lot of passion. I still think there's people who are going to be like, what is this show? I better catch up on it.
Yeah, but it's seeing like that's the whole thing though. It got in, so they see that I got in, so they'll be like, oh shit, I better watch this now. They don't need to go to an FYC event to be told to watch it.
I guess that's true. Will be interesting to see. We could go through we'll do the guest actress categories here quickly. For guest actress, I dropped Becky Ann Baker like a freaking stooge, and she gets in. It's Becky Ann Baker, Quinta Brunson, Taraji P. Henson, Judith Light for Poker Face, Sarah Niles for Ted Lasso. Another great showing that
jumping out of bed. This is
literally,
just another Margot Martindale sipping coffee.
Yeah, that's another sign
she
that
won for that.
lazy.
So what if Sarah wins for jumping out of bed?
She might, because A, they're lazy, and B, obviously they love Ted Lasso, which again, you cannot overemphasize how much they love Ted Lasso. If Sarah Niles got in, no offense, Sarah Niles, great performer, just didn't have a lot to do this season. And Harriet Walter gets in for Ted Lasso as well. Similarly, not a huge role. So Ted Lasso gets 3 of these guest acting nominees. Judith Light gets in for Poker Face, which is honestly surprising based on how Poker Face performed. But she's great on that episode. I think one of many worthy contenders possible for Poker Face. Taraji for Abbott felt like an Emmy winner immediately, but now I don't know because of the show, but I guess it doesn't really matter here in this category. And then Quinta for SNL also felt like an immediate nominee as well. So there you go.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything to say.
It's fine. We'll talk about these. I mean, obviously, we're doing our like reactions. Guest actor in a comedy, John Barenthal for The Bear, Luke Kirby for Mrs. Maisel, Nathan Lane for Only Murders, Pedro Pascal, one of 3 Emmy nominations he got in this year for Saturday Night Live here, though, for this one. Oliver Platt for The Bear, and Sam Richardson for Ted Lasso. Congratulations, Joyce. You knew it. You had Sam Richardson.
Yeah, I had Sam. Mm-hmm. I had 100-1.
That's great. I had five of these 6. I had like most people probably the Martins, Steve Martin and Martin Short for SNL, but not to be.
They just went with Pedro, so
I did throw Oliver Platt in and Bernthal, and I'm glad.
Yeah, I thought about throwing Bernthal in too, but I didn't. So, but I had Platt. So
who do you think will win here? It's Nathan Lane's in the front, seemingly.
I don't think Nathan will win again. I also did have him in there, but mostly as like I think he will be back.
Yeah.
Like he'll get nominated again.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like between the Bear guys, like I can't figure out how much season 2 will affect them for this.
Well, I think
because they both have, I mean, like Bernthal just has fishes in season 2. A monster episode for him. Whereas Oliver is in 6 episodes, so he's more spread out. He has more to do in season 2 than he did in season 1.
I feel like Oliver is an absolute guaranteed supporting actor comedy series nominee next year because of the amount of episodes he's in and his performance. So I think he'll get in the level up category, but I don't know if that will be enough for him to win here. I don't know. He could easily win though.
I don't know. It's guess is tricky because they can be lazy with the winners too, as we've seen many times.
But not lazy enough, Joyce, to nominate Claire Foy like we predicted, which we'll talk about, I guess, coming up.
The Crown. Wow, rough day for The Crown too.
Tough beat.
I could see like Luke winning again too.
He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love for them to go back to Maisel. The final season is amazing, and I thought it was like their best season since season 1, frankly. But we'll see. I got 14 nominations.
His and her Emmys for Luke and Rachel
would be nice and fitting. Moving on, Joyce. Next, we're gonna go to the drama series, and so those nominees were Succession got in with 27 total nominations. The Last of Us had 24 nominations. White Lotus had 23 nominations. And then House of the Dragon and Andor with 8, Better Call Saul 7, The Crown with 6, and Yellow Jackets with only 3, but makes it in for series anyway.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. a lot of, how many times have we already said we talk about this?
It's like we talked about a lot.
It's like this was a weak season for Yellow Jackets, but like that, those last two slots like pretty open, so it was there for it to get back in. Yeah,
And-
last year it had 7 nominations.
Yeah. And again, I think Matt's visibility helps, like we're saying, like for a show
Yeah,
like
it's already an
Sisters,
established show.
right? Like a show like Bad Sisters did quite well, like arguably, right? For a show that not technically has like certainly as much buzz or anything as Yellow
Bad
Jackets,
Sisters got more nominations than Yellow Jackets.
but it got more nominations than Yellow Jackets. Casting, directing, actress, and writing. Those
Yeah,
are all big. Yellow Jackets got one of those. So
yeah, I think, you know, with the way the voting works at the Emmys too, you know, it's branch voting within your branch, in those categories within your branch, but then everyone gets to vote for program awards.
Mhm.
So with Bad Sisters, it's like, it's sort of like shrinking, you know, it's well received, well liked, but was not a massive smash.
yes,
So it performed, you know, pretty well for, you know, a lot of first year shows would kill for those 4 nominations.
those are big nominations. Yeah, it did really well. But I think that shows like Yellow Jackets, even though it's on Showtime, show that people at least watch and know, right? Like, because
it got in. They're familiar with it from last year when it did better. So, and then like Bad Sisters, you know, it wasn't like a huge thing, so it could have gotten the passion vote into the series lineup, but clearly it did not have enough juice to overcome something as big as House of the Dragon.
Yes, which got in.
You know, which got in, and everyone gets to vote. So also lifted obviously by Crafts.
Yeah, I mean, that was how it was going to get in, and that is how it got in. So that's the drama nominees. Well, not much else to say. I'm assuming we're both going to say Succession is going to steamroll, or maybe not, but whatever. Obviously, we'll worry about this at a later date. Drama actress choice, I was hyped because I got 2 of the surprises maybe for people, and I didn't get 5. I didn't get 6 out of 6 because I had Imelda Staunton, who was a snub, and I think most people probably had expected her to get in, and she was snubbed.
We talked about how she could be snubbed, but we just stuck with her because it was so hard to fill out the other 2 slots.
So we ended up, the nominees were Sarah Snook, Bella Ramsey, and Melanie Linsky, the established top 3. And then Sharon Horgan and Elizabeth Moss, who I threw in on a wing and a prayer. And then Kerry Russell, who I took out for Elizabeth Moss, but I should have just kept her in and taken out Imelda Staunton. And there you go.
I had both Sharon and Kerry in for 2 months.
Yes.
And then I last week dropped Kerry for Juliette Lewis, but I should have dropped Imelda Staunton. We all should have.
And
just
again,
no passion for the crown.
That's it. The passion. I mean, like passion. I'll just keep saying it, but I'm like, they're obviously, she was a lower, like, I'm sure she got a good amount of votes, and like people, the crown got in for series, and like Elizabeth Debicki got in for supporting, but like clearly not enough passion for that performance to get her higher up on the ballot. Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm old enough to remember when people were hyped for this year for the Succession versus the Crown drama series showdown, because the Crown obviously went 7 for 7 in 2021 in the absence of Succession, and Succession won again last year. No 7 for 7 sweep, obviously, but didn't face the Crown. And it was pretty clear from the winter, or even like after November, when season 5 of the Crown dropped, it's like that's not the showdown that we should be looking at here.
No. And we'll you know what, Imelda Staunton, this just means you'll be an underdog, a comeback story for next year.
It's fine because the queens win for the even number seasons, not the odd. And I think it's also not surprising that if you look at the Crown's Emmy history overall, the odd seasons perform worse than the even number seasons when they switch casts. So I think it takes people like to get used to the new cast in a way. But also season 5 was just like arguably its weakest season overall. And Imelda also missed the SAG nomination in their one category to Elizabeth. So
should have known is what we're saying. Should have known. Drama actor Joyce, I went 5 for 6 because I had Diego Luna instead of Jeff Bridges, but most people probably went 6 for 6. I think Jeff was 6 in the odds. And the other 5 were what we expected. The 3 Succession guys, Pedro Pascal and Bob Odenkirk. I think some people were surprised maybe to see Brian Cox make it. I still get the sense that people were anti-dicting him, like you'd say, but obviously he was going to get in. It was no doubt he was going to get in.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they were surprised. They were probably annoyed.
maybe.
Is the thing, because they were anti-dicting him. They don't want him to get in because he was only in 5 episodes.
Yeah.
And like 2 of them were cameos.
As he always says, though, he fucking wins, and he got in.
He always says he fucking wins. That's why Tom chose him. So
very excited for that category. Can't wait. Drama supporting actress. I mean, nothing else to say. Jeff Bridges versus Diego Luna. That was it. We couldn't really fill out that 6th spot. That
you went with Diego, but I was like, I know.
Yeah.
It's the chalk 6.
Yeah. For supporting actress, like we had mentioned earlier, you have Jennifer Coolidge for the White Lotus, Megan Fahy for the White Lotus, Aubrey Plaza for the White Lotus, Sabrina Impacatore for the White Lotus, and Simona Tabasco for the White Lotus. And then you have J. Smith Cameron for Succession, Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, and Ray Seahorn for Better Call Saul.
So, yeah.
So we got an email here, Joyce. I'll read it now because I know we're going to do emails at the end. But this was hot off the presses. Guillermo emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. And he wrote, now that Ray Seahorn is against so many White Lotus actresses, does she have a shot to win for the final season of Better Call Saul?
Just ignoring Elizabeth and Jay, huh?
Yes. So Jennifer Coolidge is obviously the favorite.
Yeah.
I was really excited that Simona Tabasco got in because I loved her on the show. I thought she was like great, and I'm very glad she made it in. You could argue Megan Fahy should win for the White Lotus. I certainly would. Bold type prize. But
Jennifer is still the favorite. I don't know. I feel like the other White Lotus ladies would probably just cancel each other out, and it won't be enough to usurp her.
Last year in the in the limited series category, we had a similar kind of breakdown.
It was 5 and 2.
5 and 2. And we all were like, or you and I were like, Jennifer was fine on the season 1, but none of the other people were going to usurp her. And none of them were really going to siphon off enough votes because it's tough to pick among the other 4 who is your favorite. Like, I think you would love Alexander Daddario. I love Sydney Sweeney. I'm sure you can find some people who are like Connie Britton ruled or Natasha Rothwell or whatever. And this year, I think similarly, Jennifer was much better in season 2, had more to do in season 2. And while all these other people, the other actresses are amazing, I don't think it's hard to pick a fave. And I think that's why Jennifer would still win here and not Ray, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to put Ray in second, but I think it'll be tough. And, I don't think I can predict Better Call Saul to win anything because it's never won anything. So I'd rather just keep my expectations low and be surprised if it manages to win anything, which I don't think it will. So
right. Snub here was definitely Christina Ricci, I would say, for Yellow Jackets.
Yes. Nominated last year.
Yes,
so.
Tough. And I had Justine Luke for that last spot. A lot of people had Carol Burnett for the last spot or Leslie Manville for the last spot, but obviously they just went White Lotus crazy.
Yeah. So again, the restricted ballot not doing much here.
No, not at all. It was just the favorite shows.
Yeah.
Drama supporting actor, similar, just 2 shows.
Yeah.
That's it. So Succession gets in the 4 guys: Matthew McFadden, Alexander Skarsgård, eldest son Alan Ruck. Hell yeah. We were both very excited about that.
Finally. He must be considered, and he finally was.
And Nick Braun as well.
Internet, sorry to the internet. They're not happy about it. So,
and then I got 1 White Lotus right. I had Will Sharp. He gets in. We both were like, I was excited. I felt like not a lot of people were predicting him. He gets in. And then they just went crazy. Theo James got in. F. Murray Abraham got in. And Michael Imperioli got in. Many people expected those latter 2 to get in. I
had, this is again similar to drama actress. I had F. Murray and Michael the entire time.
Yes.
And then I got rid of both of them for Will and Tom Hollander.
So I'll remain flummoxed at the Tom Hollander snub. It's not like an egregious snub, but I just think if you're going to nominate 4 White Lotus actors and not Tom Hollander, and you're going to nominate Jennifer Coolidge and have her win an Emmy, and all of her great stuff is a lot of with Tom Hollander and Haley Lou Richardson, and you don't nominate Haley Lou Richardson or Tom Hollander, something is just wrong. It just feels like something's wrong.
That's just how strong she is on her own. Okay.
I guess. And I just think that's wrong. I don't know. I was just like, I think they should have gotten in. But what are you going to do? And Giancarlo Esposito and Giancarlo Esposito and Jonathan Banks both missed.
I mean, not a total shock. Obviously, I once again went down with the ship because I can't betray Better Call Saul. Just rough for Banks because he did get the individual SAG nomination.
Yes.
So, you know, it worked out well for Anthony Carrion, but he also got in last year. Like they've been off of Banks and Giancarlo for BCS for a while.
Yes.
So very sad.
Uh,
But this is just a, you know, a second straight Emmy for Matthew.
Seems likely. There's no reason to expect anything other than that. He was so great in the final season.
Do you think Stellan is happy slash bitter, or is it like bittersweet for him that Alex got in and he didn't?
Definitely happy. I don't think he gives a shit.
No, he doesn't at all. No.
So
He's
I
like,
mean,
what is this? I've never heard of
I don't even think he knew he was up for it.
No.
Guest actor Joyce. They did a lot of Last of Us and Succession. As it turns out, those are the two shows that exist. Murray Bartlett, James Cromwell, Lamar Johnson for Last of Us, Ari Moyed for Succession, Nick Offerman for Last of Us, and Kayvon Montreal Woodard for Last of Us. So they picked the that is a great episode. I think it's the 4th episode of of Last of Us. I'm tired, Joyce. It's been a long day of Last of Us, and it's great. And that's like a really emotional episode, like the long time. So I'm not surprised they made it in, but I don't think a lot of people are predicting them to get in.
No. And yeah, like, you know, it was a great showing for The Last of Us. It got 24, so it's the second most nominated show, right? And yeah, it's, you know, it's a type of show that's like, it's like a poker face where it's primed for guest acting nominations, and unlike Poker Face, it actually cashed in on a lot of them.
I will say this, just looking at this, and I mean, we both probably have James Cromwell in first, but I would be I'm more believing in that prediction based on the way these nominations shook out, because I think having these 4 Last of Us performances, all of which are like really emotional and like probably hard to pick a favorite in. And then you have Ari Moyed as Stewie. Like we said, they love Stewie, but not as much to do. Team Ken, baby.
Congratulations on another nomination.
But like not as much to do as he's had previously. It feels like James Cromwell would have a leg up here based on even his brief appearance, but it's so memorable. And I think he
has material. It's not a Sarah Niles jumping on the bed situation.
No.
He gave a whole fucking eulogy.
He is great material.
And yeah, I mean, you know, obviously Twitter wants Nick Offerman to win.
I just think it's going to be tough. And especially, we know they like Murray Bartlett, having won an Emmy and then nominating him twice this year. One for Welcome to Chippendales.
He could actually go back to back in the other category.
So it's like, I don't know if Nick Offerman is a slam dunk to win, because I don't think he's going to get as many votes as people think.
Yeah, I think people it's like a fan thing. Like they want him to win and they're trying to manifest it. I wouldn't say it's like a hope diction because I think he can win, but yeah, the way this shook out is tougher for him.
And then guest actress in drama series, I'll be kicking myself for this one because I had Storm Reed literally the entire year until last week. And then I was like, fuck it, I'm taking her out, put Claire Foy in or whatever. And she got nominated. And the other nominees were Hiam Abbas for Succession, Cherry Jones for Succession, Melanie Linsky for Last of Us, Storm Reed, Anna Torv for Last of Us, and Harriet Walter. So again, just 2 shows. That's all.
Yeah, this is the only dramas that existed. So
I find this to be a very competitive category. And I'm not sure who
it is. And I mean, I want Harriet to win, but I don't know if she will.
I can make a good argument for all of these actresses to win.
Yeah. Did you predict Harry? Because you were off on her.
I had Harriet, Hiam, Melanie, Cherry Jones, Claire Foy, and Fiona Shaw.
Okay.
I dropped Storm Reed, and I really never considered Anna Torv seriously, so I don't feel bad about that. She was high in the odds, but I just was like,
Anna Torv was my only Last of Us.
I just didn't think it was gonna. I just felt like compared to the other supporting, the other guest actress potentials, she was like the least compelling. But as it turned out, it didn't matter because they just loved the show enough to put it in as the only other show.
I thought the opposite. Succession. Like I thought she was the most compelling and had like the best, not like arc, but like she had like the best response to like her story. Like everyone was high, you know, on Melanie Linsky, obviously, and she got in. So but I think that just kind of like overshadowed some of the other responses to like Nico Parker too. Like I considered putting Nico in.
I thought Ashley Johnson would have been my pick.
That would have been cool,
but no. Joyce, I want you to do a victory lap here for limited series as we go to that. The nominees were Beef, Dahmer, Daisy Jones, Fleischman's in Trouble, which I fucking love, and I didn't predict it because I didn't want to have my heart broken. I'm so glad it got in. And Obi-Wan Kenobi, not just for Obi-Wan, which I know you were high on, but you were forever were like, Blackbird is not getting in. I don't have it in. I'm not having it in. And I was like, you're nuts. It's definitely getting in. And you were right as usual. It did not get in.
And I stuck to Fleischman.
I'm so proud of. That's great. I
was wrong about House of the Dragon, which is fine, but I was right on this, and this is the more chaotic category. So,
and again, what amazing category. So Obi-Wan gets in, most popular show probably here, right? Arguably, or maybe Dahmer is obviously
the most seen, next to Monster.
Yeah, and then Daisy Jones was a big priority for Amazon. Great show and just very likable, and I'm not surprised it got in. Honestly, I had predicted Blackbird and Small Light. Tough beat.
I just had Small Light instead of Obi-Wan, so I got 4 for 5 here. Nice. So I'm not upset that I dropped Obi-Wan because I did it a while ago too. But I'll take my like lowercase w for having it in the first place way back in like February.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, and like Blackbird, I was just like, I don't think it's happening. Like it's.
You were right.
How many did it get today?
Let me look. Hang on.
It got 3 acting. I know that. And then did it get anything else?
I gotta find the page. Hang on.
Hold on.
It got 4 total: cinematography, lead actor, supporting actor. So not.
Yeah. So my thing with Blackbird always was that it's over a year old at this point because it premiered July 8th. Last year. It had all this runway to actually make a huge splash in the winter, and it didn't really. Like it performed the best at the Globes and PWH1. Obviously it couldn't even get Taron Egerton into Critics' Choice. He wasn't nominated there, and obviously Taron and Paul got nominated at SAG, but it flopped at the guilds. Like it had really no excuse to not get into PGA, DGA, and WGA. And the reason I stuck with Fleischman was that it did get into WGA as a November release. It was a late release. It also got Scripter. And I think it also helped Fleischman that it's a very grounded, relatable show. Yeah, and also it was awesome. Different than a lot of these other like murder shows.
Right.
And then Blackbird is like, it was well received, has, great reviews, like good ratings, whatever, all this stuff. But I don't think there's ever that much passion for it. And like my thinking was like, if it were snubbed for series, there would not be this hysterical outrage. And I don't think there is right now. I haven't looked on Twitter, but I don't think there is.
I don't think so either. Fleischman did well because it rules. It was my favorite show last year, so I'm very happy to see it in. It got 7 nominations: casting, directing, writing. Lizzie Kaplan for lead actress, which we'll get to here in a second. Beef and Monster both had 13 nominations, and it feels like those are your front runners here. And I think Beef is probably very well positioned to win in the end, but we shall see. So next up would be which lead actress, I guess, right? Or TV movie we could do quickly. It was Weird, Fire Island, Prey, Dolly Parton, and Hocus Pocus 2, I believe, right? Was that the last one?
I think I did Hocus Pocus 2. So
you did, but you didn't have Fire Island. I did
not. I don't even know what my other one was. Was it Reality?
Reality, maybe, but it didn't make it in. So anyway, next up.
You know what? This category needs some more Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
Yeah. So. Just moving on. We'll talk about it when we talk about it. Don't worry about it. If you're a fan of those properties, great. Prey did really well. Like, I think it got writing and directing nominations. So maybe that'll be and Weird got the Daniel Radcliffe nomination. Anyway, limited series actress. This was a lot of chaos, I would say, because it's a category, like we had said, that had many options. And I only got 3.
It was competitive, like quality-wise, individually with the performances, but a lot of them from weak or underperforming shows.
So I got 3 of the 6. The nominees were Lizzie Kaplan for Fleischman, which absolutely rules. I was so excited. This is my favorite nomination of the whole day. She absolutely should have gotten in. I'm so glad she did. Jessica Chastain for George and Tammy, which I had predicted. Dominique Fishback for Swarm, which I actually did predict. Catherine Hahn for Tiny Beautiful Things, which no, we did not have. I mean, we talked about her, but it felt like the show is too tiny, maybe too beautiful to get in. Riley Keough for Daisy Jones at 6, which is another great nomination that I loved. but I just didn't think she would be the Amazon actress along with Dominique, maybe to pop, and Ali Wong for beef. No Rachel Weisz, no Betty Gilpin, no Elizabeth Olsen,
No Emily Blunt right off the bat.
no Emily Blunt.
The thing I love about like live announcements, it's just you know, we have the alphabet, so you know immediately if someone misses.
We've talked a lot about this, but I mean, Dominique Fishback felt like she had a lot of passion, and like that
Oh
was
yeah, immediately I put her in after Swarm premiered in March.
Jessica Chastain felt like a pretty solid bet. Ali Wong seemingly will win, right? Lizzie, they love the show, as it turns out, and she's awesome, and so I'm so glad she got in.
Yeah, that was a great nomination. I picked the wrong Fleischman lead because I did Jesse Eisenberg instead of Lizzie, but very happy for Lizzie. Great nomination. And I did have Catherine Hahn Once Upon a Time because I wanted the Wanda Agatha face off, but only one of them made it. But I dropped Catherine because Tiny Beautiful Things felt very tiny, but you know, they watched it.
They did. And I mean, again, not Elizabeth Olsen not making it in feels like tough. I don't know like how she and Rachel Weisz as well, but obviously Dead Ringers was too polarizing in a way that Swarm wasn't even polarizing, right? Like, and
it's a more difficult watch.
There you go. And Riley Keough,
I dropped Rachel this morning. Another lateral move for me because I put back in Emily Blunt, so it didn't matter.
Wow.
Yeah, like I think Rachel had the higher ceiling in terms of like passion and support, but you had to watch it. And I was like, I don't think people watch the show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I went off of her and I just went back to Emily because she did get the SAG nomination. But then, you know, like we talked about last week, she wasn't facing a ton of people she would be facing now in the Emmy race then, because it was just Jess. And then everyone else was from like the last Emmy cycle. Or well, Niecy was there too, but she's obviously in supporting. But yeah, so they did not care about the English. And, you know, I think Dominique had the passion. And Riley, I think, you know, Daisy was just seen. And, you know, this is a big win for Reese Witherspoon and Hello Sunshine because it's behind both Daisy Jones and Tiny Beautiful Things.
We on this window of the podcast, we're big Hello Sunshine fans. I love all the Hello Sunshine stuff. So I'm psyched about that. Lead actor Joyce, not as surprising at all, except for maybe one that was right away, like we said, because of the alphabet. Taron Egerton gets in for Blackbird. Kumail Nanjiani for Welcome to Chippendales. I literally didn't think of him at all. No offense to Kumail, who I think is a great actor. And I didn't see a lot of people talking about him at all, taking him seriously as a contender for Welcome to Chippendales. But there he is as an Emmy nominee. Evan Peters for Monster, Daniel Radcliffe for Weird, Michael Shannon for Georgia Tammy, and Stephen Yeun for Beef. So a lot of paired actors here. And then Kumail, who's also paired with multiple.
This one I feel like they were very lazy.
I mean, I got 5 out of the 6. The only one I missed was I put Chasky Spencer in because I had Emily Blunt in, and they didn't care about the English. So there you go. But
yeah, what was it? Michael, like this is kind of like his Oscar runs where he gets nominated without hitting precursors. Like, you know, he wasn't nominated SAG. But yeah, I think it was a lot of pairs. I mean, Stephen was obviously getting in, and then Daniel getting in for a TV movie, which they don't do a lot here. But it helped that the category was so weak too. And then Kumail, I think, you know, it was just they watched that show.
They watched that show, and
he's good in the show. It was just like, you know,
he's a great actor. I mean, he's a great actor. He's worked with a million different people. I feel like he knows everybody. And if you watch the show, you liked him in it. It's a good, like, kind of against type performance, I would say, certainly for him. And I think that helps as well. The supporting categories here, I guess, would be next. Supporting actress. I just bombed this. I got 3 out of the 7. So not great, Bob.gif. The nominees were Annalee Ashford for Welcome to Chippendales. Never once thought about putting her in. Maria Bello for Beef, had her. Claire Danes, Fleischman in Trouble, had her. Juliette Lewis for Welcome to Chippendales. Nope, didn't even think about it. Camilla Morrone, who I had in, had out, interviewed, love her so much. Should have predicted her, gone down with my theory of just predicting people I interview. Joyce didn't predict her. She gets in. Niecy Nash bets for Dahmer, and Merritt Weaver for Tiny Beautiful Things, who I had in a long time ago, but then took out because the show was too tiny, I thought.
Yeah, I had her in Once Upon a Time as well. Yeah, just wild category. We knew it would be, though, because the only locks were Claire and Niecy.
Yes.
You know, and after that, anything could happen, and it did.
I had the people I had that didn't work. Lily Rabe for Love and Death. They didn't care about Love and Death, so obviously she wasn't going to get in. Michael Lerner for Monster, which I'm kind of surprised they weren't more heavy on Monster, and I actually think that shows that maybe Beef has like a little bit of an edge, even though Beef also missed here for Ashley Park, but I could see like her role being a little small, perhaps. And then Jennifer Ely for Dead Ringers, which the show they did not care about was really Dead Ringers. I think got one nomination, so.
Yeah, so I had, as you know, triple Beef here just because I was like, I don't know what the fuck to put in here.
Right.
So, and I got one of them, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
So, you know, in my view, I felt like Beef could get anywhere between 2 and the 7 acting nominations that I was predicting for it, and I would not be surprised at all. It's just like, obviously, Allie and Steven were locked, and I could see it getting 0 supporting nominations, or multiple. And, you know, it did better in supporting actor because I got Joseph Lee and Young Mazzino. It only got Maria Bello in here. So it got 5. So I'm okay with that. It got 5 out of the 7 I predicted. And
Okay.
you know what? I'll take that over. What did our odds have? Olivia Colman?
R.I.P. Olivia Colman and Lena Headey and Cherry Jones, I believe,
Yeah.
are high up in the
Yeah.
odds.
So I'm fine.
So
yeah.
And then for guest, I'm sorry, too many tabs, Joyce.
You mean supporting
actor in limited series. It was Murray Bartlett for Welcome to Chippendales, 2-time nominee this year, former winner. Paul Walter Hauser for Blackbird, Richard Jenkins for Monster, Joseph Lee for Beef, Ray Liotta for Blackbird, Young Mazzino for Beef, and Jesse Plemons for Love and Death. I mean, just throw your hands up in the air. Just makes no sense to me, but there you go.
I told you, I was like, if they finish the show, it would be Tom Pelphrey. Because if you watch the entire show, no offense to Jesse, who I love, but you would just not nominate Jesse over Tom Pelphrey.
I guess, is Jesse Plemons at the point where they didn't like the show? Because they didn't like the show. I mean, they just didn't, obviously. It got 1 nomination, right? Or 2 nominations. What did it get? I think just
I don't
one.
know, did it get anything below the line?
Let me look. I think it just got 1. Hang on. I got too many tabs. Love and Death. Just the one. Just the Jesse Plemons one. That's it. They didn't like the show, but they nominate Jesse Plemons. I just don't get it, I guess. I don't understand.
Well, this category was also wide open too.
Right.
After really, you know, PWH and Richard, I guess you can say. So, like, I also had Ronnie Burford in here. Like, no, like, yeah, they did the bare minimum for the monster acting nominations.
Right. They did the bare minimum for monster acting. They didn't overperform for Beef. Here's my galaxy brain thing that I'll try to convince myself of. Fleischman could win series. Even though they didn't nominate Jesse.
I don't think they need to nominate Jesse. But I felt a second Fleischman acting nomination coming, and I just picked him over Lizzie because Lizzie was in the more crowded category.
So here's why I think it could win. It definitely here. I think Fleischman could win directing and potentially writing. There's 2 Beef
Fleischman
directing.
could definitely win writing. There's
2 Beef directing nominees. It's Lee Sung-jin and Jake Schreier. And then 2 Dahmer directing nominees, Carl Franklin and Paris Barclay. And then Dan Trachtenberg for Prey. And then Valerie Faris and Jonathan Dayton for Fleischman for Me Time, which is the Claire Danes episode. And then for writing, there's just single nominees for all these: Beef, Fire Island, Fleischman, Prey, Swarm, and Weird. So its biggest competition is probably Beef and writing. And I think it's the writerly show, even though they're both like writerly shows. I don't know. I could see Fleischman winning both directing and writing and then maybe winning series, but who knows? I guess that's wrong.
I don't think it would win directing. I think it could definitely win writing. Like, we can't predict writing, but I always had it in for writing for Me Time.
Right. It felt like that would make sense.
So I think it could win that. I think Claire is well positioned to win.
Definitely.
I think a lot of people are predicting or want Niecy to win, but you know, Claire is not going to go down without a fight, and Fleischman did well enough for her to win. So
I mean, I would argue Monster underperformed a little bit.
It missed out on a lot. You know, the acting branch, usually goes overboard with Ryan Murphy actors.
Yes.
Even when like no one else or no other branch cares about the shows that he made recently.
Yep.
So, but they didn't do that this time. So
I don't know if it's I
Yeah.
think that hurts Niecy maybe a little bit too.
we didn't do writing in the other genres, but nothing. I mean, we mentioned Abbott missing.
I think we did comedy, but the comedy for directing comedy was Bill Hader for Barry, Declan Lowney for Ted Lasso's finale, Christopher Storer for The Bear Review, which is the single shot episode, which didn't get a cinematography nomination, but did get the directing nomination. Mrs. Maisel for the finale. Miss Pat Show is the
multicam
slot. And then Wednesday, Tim Burton.
Yeah.
So not
Yeah,
bad.
and
Maybe,
then writing
maybe
was
Barry.
Bear for system jury duty, which I was telling you the other day. I was like, if we could predict writing, I would predict jury duty.
Yes.
Look. And murders, the other two.
Really solid. Love that.
Yeah, Great Farewell Nom for the other two.
Yep.
And Ted.
Yep.
They submitted one for writing.
Yep. And they got in. For directing and drama, we have Benjamin Caron for Andor, Deborah Walsh for Bad Sisters, and then 3 Succession, which we probably expected. Lorene Scafaria, baby. Let's go. My fave. Living Plus. Justice for Living Plus. Fucking great episode. And then Peter Hoare for Last of Us and Mike White for White Lotus.
Yeah, this will be, as we know, tricky for Succession to win.
Congrats on Mike White's Emmy, I would argue.
I think Succession can win because obviously the focus is Connor's wedding.
Yeah, for Mylon.
So it's not the same as last year where there wasn't like a standout directing achievement.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it is the last season of the show. So I think it has a higher chance of winning this year than it did last year, this category, but it still has overcome triple noms, which no show has done in directing. But yeah, and then it obviously got its one episode, Connor's Wedding, into writing. So congratulations to Jesse Armstrong. Again.
The other nominees were Andor, Bad Sisters, 2 Better Call Sauls, Joyce, Point and Shoot, and the finale. Connor's Wedding for our boy Jesse. Long Time for Last of Us, and Arrivederci for The White Lotus.
Yeah, solid list.
Really good.
Yeah, really good.
We're going to talk about these a lot, I'd imagine, over the next 6 months when the Emmys are in January.
We have episode submissions.
Yes.
Coming up too, which don't really matter.
But they're fun to talk about.
What?
They're fun to talk about, though.
Yeah, because then you can see who doesn't give a shit. Like a couple years ago, I love like Handmaids. They just trolled everyone with their submissions for series. Their 6 submissions. It's like they knew they were not winning and did not care. And like we know, like the voters are not actually watching these episodes in the 2 weeks they have to vote.
No.
So I mean, even if the Emmys are delayed to like never, I would hope they would still keep the same voting period in August.
All the stuff we read,
feel the results for 10 years.
all the stuff we've read makes me believe that they would keep the voting, but not sure when the show's going to be. November.
No, it should be November. That's like, I mean, hopefully if like things are better by then too. If things, I mean, they want to freeze out the writers and make them go homeless.
So it's in a Deadline article.
AMPTV, yeah,
Yes. So an unnamed source, credit to the studios, though who knows who the source is, Joyce, and who knows.
I mean, obviously the source is from the AMPTP, so
right.
But that's their plan, as if writers are not used to being broke. But could be a SAG strike by the end of tonight, midnight.
Yes. We're doing this. Watching this during SAG strike.
They'll go up today, Wednesday. So
that's true. Maybe you're not watching Wednesday. Maybe you're watching it Thursday.
Yes, but like we know we're reacting to it on Wednesday. True. It's not our usual episodes when we tape on Wednesday.
I know.
Drops on Thursday. But like, by November, if there is like double strikes, and if they try to, I think they would be more inclined to try to work something out with the writers than because they don't give a shit about writers. I mean, with the actors than they would with the writers, because they don't care about writers. And November would be better. obviously, because you don't want the Emmys in the middle of fucking January.
It'd be pretty, like I was saying to you on Slack, it would be pretty silly to have the Critics' Choice Awards on January 7th or whatever they are this year, give Jeremy Allen White an award for The Bear season 2, and then the Emmys to air the next week and give a Jeremy Allen White award for The Bear season 1, and then the Golden Globes to air and give Jeremy Allen White an award for The Bear season 2. It just seems a little stale for the Emmys.
Yeah, like I always love that Emmys have their own spot on the calendar in September. I like that it's removed, and I like they have their own their different eligibility calendar. It's not the calendar year, so this way we do have different face-offs. Like, it's not the same shows at every single award show like it is on the film side, because everyone uses the calendar year. So it's just the same people and movies and shows if you have TV categories facing off over and over again. And it's fucking boring. And that's how you get rubber stamping. Like, Emmys can still do their own thing, because if there's different people and new shows from the spring, you know, that have not competed at the winter yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know like these people are wrong. The people who want to have the Emmys with the rest of award season in like January or in the winter, I'm like, no, get out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
We're going to be focused on movies by then. I don't want to talk about
it. Should be its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, let it, like, it's just,
I
but,
totally
and it's obviously, it's been in November before in 2001 after 9/11. So I do want to mention one last thing, casting. We know casting is a big category.
Yes.
A key category. So in comedy, we have Abbott, The Bear, Jury Duty, Only Murders, and Ted Lasso. And I just want to say, I'm gonna pull a you, but I interviewed the Jury Duty casting director, Susie Ferris. Yes. And after we were done, like off the record, I just told her, I was like, I think you should win the Emmy. So now she can.
Wow. Joyce, you predicted this.
I know.
Your influence. And then for what was drama series casting?
Drama, Bad Sisters, The Crown, Last of Us, Succession, White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets. So nothing really. This all makes sense here.
What do you think is going to win this category for drama?
Succession. Okay. It won last year. It beat Yellow Jackets last year.
And what do you think for comedy?
Comedy, I mean, I want Jury Duty to win, but I can see Ted just winning again, or I can see The Bear winning too.
Last thing, I guess. Do you want to do quickly? Because we love it. Music. So
Nick is not going to win.
Music composition for limited anthology series. I'm just going to read these off quick. Dramatic score, Small Light. So they did watch it enough to get it in for the music branch at least. Hocus Pocus 2, Miss Marvel, Prey, and Weird. Sure. For series dramatic score, Andor, Succession. So double Nick,
which we expected.
Gustavo Santaolalla for for Last of Us, long time. Cristobal Tapia de Veer for White Lotus, and then Danny Elfman for Wednesday with Chris Bacon.
Nick
so who's going to win? Nick's not going to win.
Nick can win for Andor. He probably will win for Andor. He's just never going to win for Succession.
I was going to say, I think he might win for Andor.
Because he's, you know, as at least he has the theme Emmy, but he's just this is going to be a miss for them.
So. Music direction. These are more like live shows, Joyce, but Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Library of Congress, SNL, halftime show with Rihanna, and the Oscars. Remember that Oscars? That was fun. We enjoy the Oscars.
It'll probably be the Super Bowl. It won last year.
Main title theme music, Andor, Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, Miss Marvel, Lord of the Rings of Power. First time we've mentioned that in almost 2 hours here. And Wednesday so this could be a Nick win too, I would argue.
I mean, ideally they should give him, I think I mentioned this, he should win for theme for Andor, and then he could win score for Succession, but that's not going to happen because we can't have nice things.
Original music and lyrics, Ginny and Georgia, Ted Lasso.
It's double Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, Ed Sheeran, Emmy nominee for Ted Lasso. The L Word, Generation Q, Mrs. Maisel, and weird, the Ali Yankovic story.
No, Schmigadoon, the defending champion.
Pretty wild. They didn't really like.
How did Schmigadoon do?
I looked before. It had actually one. I think it had cinematography. Let me look overall. Too many tabs.
It obviously did not get Jane Krakowski, which was like their.
Schmigadoon had 3 total nominations: production design for a narrative program, choreography for a scripted program, and cinematography for a half-hour series.
Okay.
So not bad, honestly.
No, but I mean, it couldn't get back into the category it won. So.
And then music supervision, Joyce, Daisy Jones and the Six, Stranger Things, Ted Lasso for the finale, Krista Miller, Emmy nominee, love it, love to see it, Mrs. Maisel for the finale, and the White Lotus for the episode Bull Elephants.
Yeah, a lot of shows left on the table here.
So
no beef.
I mean, that's a tough beat. No Fleischman, which I think would make a case here.
Yeah, no Love and Death, but they hated it, so they didn't care. Robin Erdang, she did both, so she got him for Maisel. So
what else missed it? I mean, like, I feel like there were a lot of good options there that were somewhat ignored.
Yeah, but none of these are shockers by any means. Like, obviously Stranger Things, like duh. And yeah, Daisy. So Better Call Saul used to get in this too, but not here, not this time.
So Joyce, anything else here before we wrap up? We left a lot on.
I haven't even like looked at all of these yet. So
we left a lot of meat on the table. Short form, I always love these just to give you a heads up on actors.
Aren't there like just 3 nominees or something?
Yes, Kevin Hart for Die Hard 2, Tim Robinson for I Think You Should Leave, and our pal Ben Schwartz for Die Hard 2.
Should have been for the after party last year.
And then actress in a short form series, Natalie Emmanuel for Die Hard 2, Jasmine Guy for Chronicles of Jessica Wu, and Paula Pell for Die Hard 2. I really loved Die Hard 2.
How many shows were submitted in these?
Unclear.
Enough to get 3.
Unclear. Voiceover performance, Julie Andrews, Alex Borstein for Family Guy, Mel Brooks, Emmy nominee for History of the World, Maya Rudolph for Big Mouth, Wanda Sykes for Crank Yankers, and Ali Wong, a double nominee this year for Tuca and Birdie. And then this one maybe the narrator one, Mahershala Ali for the show Chimp Empire, Angela Bassett, Emmy nominee for Goodnight Oppie. Remember that one?
Yeah, she's never won an Emmy, so she's got an honorary Oscar now.
Maybe she gets the Emmy here. Morgan Freeman for Our Universe, Barack Obama,
defending champion.
And then Pedro Pascal for Patagonia, Life on the Edge of the World. 3 Emmy nominations for Pedro Pascal.
It's like they just discovered Pedro this year.
He just a newcomer. I'm surprised he didn't win in breakthrough performance in one of these shows. Yeah, that's it.
I could see Barack just winning again.
Maybe. But what if Angela wins?
I don't really think so. I don't know. I think people want Angela to win.
So you could probably predict these Emmy winners at our website, Joyce. And you can email.
One thing I do want to mention that was announced today: Survivor making it back into reality competition program for the first time since 2006.
So that was when I knew Poker Face had no shot, because Traders was, I think, a lot of people's 5th pick there.
Yeah,
we very much enjoyed it, and yeah, not great.
Nothing else to say.
No.
I do feel bad for Peacock. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is it, Joyce. So email us at slugfest@goldderby.com, and we'll make more of our. We'll spend a lot of time.
We need to go because I need to look at the rest of these. I haven't looked at these yet.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.